Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to round 4 of SFR Season 20 Division 1 and 2 as we now head towards the twistier turns of the Hungarian here for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Last time out we were at Silverstone and that was complete domination from Apex George as he started from pole position as he controlled the race from line side to checkered flag, and nobody else had a realistic challenge for victory indeed. But behind him there was plenty of action to midfield as well, and one of the McLaren drivers got the podium. I think it was OWR Ronnie, I think it was at the time, who got himself on the podium. But this week brings a completely different challenging spectacle because we're not just here at the Hungaroring, we are competing on the brand new F1 26 game, meaning everyone has to adapt to completely new different handling model, and most importantly the battery management system too. And unlike previous games where drivers could deploy aggressively when they had the battery the most, the battery usage is now far more strategic, and one-shot qualifying is on. So I completely forgot all about that. It is one-shot qualifying. So let's go on board with. Not quite sure who's on board with here, but I'm going to start on board with Kevin as we open the DRS. Sorry, as we open the active era there, coming out of turn 1, as he almost loses the back end of the car as well. As you can see, trying to apply the throttle. You can be very careful with traction because it does bite you out. It does bite a lot and catches a lot of people out as well. As he heads towards turn 4 and turn 5, he goes still in first place, competing with Fireblaze and Zenom. Pred 1 has been disqualified already. 22 drivers on the grid for this session, and so 2 more drivers and 2 new teams, Cadillac and Audi, entered the rostrum, which is going to be very exciting to see indeed. So nice to see more drivers here as well. As Kevin flicks his way through turn 11, he goes straight mode activated, heading downhill, and as you can see, he has to lift a ghost, and this is what you'll see this season in qualifying. It's not all about pushing, which is very, very bizarre thing to say indeed. Very counteractive as he has a massive slide out of the penultimate corner. Here comes Kevin. Kevin is the one who could take pole away from the rest of the drivers. Active area open, heads towards the line, is 16.6 and 1/10 quicker than Bruce in P2. So Kevin is on pole position, and that is it. So let's see who else is down for Fireblaze. Is P8 a last season champion in SFR? Is P8 Division 1 champion indeed? But my name is Jamie Morris, and alongside me tonight is Milan Langer. Milan, welcome mate. Are you excited for this brand new spectacle game?
I am indeed, at least to watch. I haven't really enjoyed driving them as much as these guys may have, but I'm looking forward to see how the action's going to be on track while we are sitting here in the commentary booth. So definitely looking forward to that. Just seen an interesting qualifying session. Indeed, of course, it's not going to mean much compared to what the race pace is going to be like. It's a 70-lap race, so even if you start at the back of the grid, you still have great chances of getting great results. But indeed, it is a great lap time from Kevin, taking pole position by over 1.5 tenths of a second. And we see a bit of field spread among these drivers. Of course, everyone's still getting used to these cars. The DLC just dropped a week ago, so it's also quite difficult to get that lap right, and especially in the qualifying where you have to manage the battery and lifting coast, like you just said. So that might be why the gaps are a little bit bigger than we used to see them. But we'll see how these drivers are going to take on the start of this race. The starts, which in real life have been quite entertaining, at least the launch heading towards turn 1. We'll see if we see such differences as well in game. But the Hungaroring, not usually known for the greatest races, or the most overtakes. It's notoriously called Monaco without the barriers. I've had the pleasure to visit this track last year. For the Hungarian Grand Prix, had a great time out there. Was quite hot though, but even you can still there's still quite a few opportunities with overtaking, and especially with these new regulations, I think there are still plenty of chances to have a great race around here.
Indeed, it is a short track, and like I said, we've not had many great races in the past, but when it first introduced in 1986, as we saw Nelson Piquet power slide around the outside of 80 Senna, and Nigel Mansell's miracle drive from starting 12th place in 1989 to finish first and past Senna as well. Senna was delayed by a back mark at the time as well. Then I think Senna finally won a couple of years later too, and Nigel Mansell became the 1992 champion here at the Hungarian Grand Prix. I really hope and pray that my internet does not play up, because that's been the main curse of me. And the problem with my internet is it's not bad, it's very quick, but it's unreliable. And even when nobody's in, I was in the house today, and I've tested this a couple of times as well. Only my phone has been connected to the internet, but sometimes it drops out at any point of the day. I don't think it's because of the speed, it's just the reliability. And it's a shame to see. I transferred over to a different provider a couple of months back, and I was on BT, and BT seems to be the one to be on as well. Now I'm on EE, which seems to be worse. And when I was on my old internet, nothing happened. It seemed stable and stay connected. But now I'm on this new provider, it just seems so terrible. I was going to swear then, but I didn't want to for the stream's sake as well. But I really hope we have a good race. Back in 2021, we saw somebody go bowling in the name of Valtteri Bottas. Took out both Red Bulls and also Lando Norris too. And Hamilton started alone at the front of the field. And he literally took 3 races won, literally, as he started alone on the grid. But I think he finished in P2 because Sebastian Vettel got disqualified from the Hungarian Grand Prix due to fuel. And Esteban Ocon took his first win here, like Jenson Button did, like Keke Kovalainen did, and I think it was, who was as well? Oscar Piastri and many more took their first wins around here too. I think Fernando Alonso took his first win here too, became the youngest F1 driver at the time, at 22 years old in 2003. So we do have a lot of history around here as well. And it has produced some really good races in the wet conditions, in the damp conditions. But when it's just plain dry, we don't really see that many great races indeed, because it's such a small twisty circuit, not a lot of long straights, and it is so hot and humid too. But I wonder how it does in this year's cars in 2026. 2025 last year, I don't actually remember, but I think the formation lap is about to go away then. So let's see what the tyre compounds are. I don't think nobody will start on the soft compound tyre. No, but pretty much everybody on the medium compound tyres and on the hard compound tyre too. So I think it's more mediums in comparison towards hards. But it is Kevin, who was a Division 1 driver last season, and he did pretty well. I dare say he was running the midfield quite a lot last season. I was a racer more than a commentator too, so I'm not quite sure how his progress has been since then, but he's on provisional pole at Bruce, who is also performing really well as well in the race of Bulls, and last season Division 1. Atlas Coppo is a Division 2 champion a couple of seasons ago, now up into P3, as Burge up into P4. So we do have a combined mixed grid of Division 1 and Division 2. Birch, I think he finished in P4, P5 in Division 1 last week, sorry. I was watching in Division 1, and I think it was the new driver of Vader who took the victory indeed. That was a great result there on his debut. But we don't have him today, unfortunately. But Fireblaze we do have, who was a last season champion. And let's see what happens then. Mixed grid, like I said, Division 1 and Division 2. Keith, the Monaco Grand Prix race winner, is P7. Didn't really have a good turnout in Silverstone. His performance dipped a little, so I wonder how he does. Where's his teammate Klusler? Klusler is, I don't think he's here. No, he's not. Klusler is not here, so we won't see him racing, unfortunately, at the Hungarian Grand Prix. But it is Kevin, Bruce, Alice Cooper, Burge, Calvin, Zedham, Key, Fireblaze, Hicks, Papelli, George, Ronnie, Anichida, Mr. Wiggles, Roy, Fatboy, Doran, Leo Grotto, Karsh, Matty, Gurgley, Pep One, and Billy G, who will start down in last place. 22 drivers, a brand new season starts ahead of us, and we'll see what this 70-lap race has to offer us tonight. I think it's going to be quite hot indeed, like it is here in the UK. So the drivers then land up on the grid for the first time, and we'll see what happens going down into towards turn number 1. It's not about pure pace this season, it's about battery management, which is quite the opposite of what Formula 1 should be. But it is what it is for the time being. But all the drivers then line up at the grid for this race here at the Hungarian Grand Prix. What's going to happen down in towards turn number 1? What's going to happen in this race? The drivers look to the gantry. 3, 4, 5 lights. And we get racing here at the Hungarian Grand Prix for the first time on this new game, this new DLC, let's say. And it seems even Stevens for the first 2. Kevin goes on the right side to cover off the attack from Booze as we go down in towards turn 1. The Cadillac is ghosted there for some reason. Is he in the session? I'm not quite sure. I think he is. So let's see who that is. It is Calvin in the Cadillac. who is ghosted. But down the inside goes the Williams in towards turn 2. Now his teammates side by side with them going in towards turn 2. There's contact. The throw is off the track. That is Hicks, who goes sideways off the track. And straight mode is available on this short straight. Head up towards turn 4 we go. There's a few side by side. They kind of like going around the outside, which is, I think it is Calvin. He may complete that overtake off the track with the Audi of Fireblaze there too. So might have to give the place back. There's a few drivers jumping about who is losing connection. George sliding to the apex as we see, instead of taking the escape road like Hamilton did back in 2015 when he had to avoid Nico Rosberg. He goes in the wall. Senna is in the wall, and somebody in the comment section said, when is it I'm going to spin? It is right now, as we see Burge and George swap places once again, P4 and P5, so those two have swapped around in this race. As down the inside goes Calvin, he gets pitched to the inside line, and no space there, and he has to concede the position and stay in P6. A few people jostling about in the background. Pabelli, Div 3 champion, versus the Williams of Leo Grotta, the Division 1 driver, as I think Pabelli has overtaken, or about to, not yet, because he's still there side by side, as the Williams is trying to hang around the outside, but he stays in P12 for the time being. But Apex George is right behind Burge, going down in towards turn 1, as George defends the inside line, but goes deep. Here goes George then, with the switch back, under and over, as he overtakes Burge, and now he's up into P4. This was an eventful first lap of the Grand Prix. Gurgley now ahead of Matty. Gurgley starts at the back of the field, and now trying to make up some ground after bad qualifying. He's in P15, and now the Williams gets out of shape, and he lost a few places too. He's fallen down into P15. So a lot of action on the first after Grand Prix, as you expect on this new game. This is something exciting, something new and interesting too. As we see there, Mercedes off the track. That's Billy G trying to go around the outside of him. Bruce has pulled the cab down to 0.6 of a second. He's within striking distance of his opponent ahead.
Birds there losing 2 positions. Calvin on the inside into the chicane, now losing maybe 3 positions as Gibbs has to look around the outside, but he got a little bit pushed off track there by the Cadillac, and then losing a position to the Ferrari as well. Now under pressure from Keith, who's going to go into the inside, into the braking 3 wide. That is Fireblaze trying to go all the way around the outside, making a double overtake. What a move there from Fireblaze, who lost out halfway during the opening lap in that same chicane there, but now with a great action there from the Audi driver up at the 7th place, but now he's got 1.5 seconds towards Hicks. But fortunately, actually no, he does not have the boost mode available for him on the next lap, as Apex George is able to get past Alascope for P3 and put himself into that podium position. He's fighting down the field as Burge is once again being overtaken, down to P13, losing so many positions on this lap. I'm not sure if he's still driving. He's down to P14, P50 now. Absolutely no speed in that Williams, it seems, so that is very unfortunate from the driver who started down in the top 5. Yellow flags are in the background, and I think it was maybe for Mr. Wiggles in the Aston Martin, as Burge has gone off track now as well. In turn 3, is he able to resume? It looks like it, but that unfortunately brings an end. Well, maybe not an end, but FR well outside the points now, down in 21st place, so unfortunate to see. But at the front, Kevin leads by half a second now ahead of Bruce. It's the top 3 who are on the medium tire. Then Atlas Copa, he is the first driver on the hards in the Cadillac, and his teammate Calvert in the Cadillac also on the hard tires. Everyone else inside the top 10 has started on the medium tire. Now the question will be, how long can they stretch this in? Of course, it's a 100% race, so you can do way more laps than you'll be able to do in a 50% race, as the other Audi of Europe has got past Energy Dan for 9th place, but now he will not have the boost mode on the next lap, so he might be a little bit vulnerable towards the Mercedes. But the Mercedes is also under a bit of pressure from Pabelli, who is showing some great pace on the hard tires in the Haas as we go down the start-finish straight, but Kirkley is able to maintain that position in P9. Energy Dan also staying there in 10th place. It seems like things have started to settle down a little bit. Utkarsh has had a moment as well in the middle sector. He has dropped down to last place, and I think he's made a pit stop as well on the previous lap, so not the start he was looking for, but still a very long way to go in this race, so not all is lost, that is for sure, as we're on lap 4 of 70, as we see some drivers looking to try and find a way past, but it's really difficult to overtake. You can normally only see an overtake down at turn 1, maybe down at turn 2, but besides that, it's really difficult to find a place. So that is Pabelli going deep into the chicane, losing the backhand on entry, but the McLaren of Ronnie not quite close enough to capitalize from that. but you can see that Pirelli is starting to struggle already a little bit on the hard tires, maybe struggling a little bit with the temperature or just with the balance with these new cars. As that car becomes our first retirement at the end of lap 3. Unfortunate to see we're down to 21 drivers as we go on to lap 5 of this race, and Bruce has got some great pace in his RB, but he's not quite close enough to go for the move just yet on Kevin, but he is sticking with the McLaren driver, and together they've built a gap of almost 4 seconds towards Apex George, who is still bringing Atlas Coppa with him on the hard tires. So Atlas Coppa doing a decent enough job to stay with that Red Bull driver, and they both have built a gap as well now towards Hicks, who is starting to bring a little bit of a train behind him with Calvin Fireblaze, and then a bit of a gap towards Keys, and the other Audi of Gurley down in P9 has completely dropped Energy Dan, who has found himself now in the train as well as Hicks in the Ferrari, unfortunately picking up a 3-second time penalty, and that is not ideal, not in the 5th lap of this race.
Yeah, very early stages of this race to pick a penalty. There's a long way to go, as we keep mentioning as well. So the top two have got their race in their hands so far. In first, second place, Kevin and Bruce, Division 1 drivers from last season, doing a mega job so far, occupying first, second place, and building a gap over Apex George and Atlas Coppa too. Atlas Coppa, P4 go for a long stint on those hardcore power tyres, former race winner in Division 2 and champion Division 2 as well, currently running P4, and the highest hard winner, as Mr. Wiggles there picks up a 3-second time penalty in this race too. For good measure, there's a long battle going on from 10th all the way down towards 17th where Pep 1 is, so it's a long train to go, as boost mode is available for some drivers, as Bruce is not overtaking Kevin, but Kevin's sliding off the show as well. You got to be very careful about traction at the exit of corners, because the car's snappy as well, as I found out previously, as Gurgley in the Audi versus Keith in the Ferrari going wheel to wheel, as it looks like the Audi driver has got past Gurgley, now up into P8 ahead of Keith, dropping backwards into P9. There's a massive field spread, more than expected as well, as I expected a lot of people to be within a train of each other, but doesn't seem to be so for the time being. But the straight mode is activated out of turn 3 towards turn 4, so you get a bit of the rear wing and front wing open as well. But Kevin has dropped Bruce out of 1 second, so maybe dropping him out of boost mode, which is going to help Kevin pull away. So Bruce is struggling to stay with the contention of Kevin. He still has the boost mode activated, but the boost mode for me is confusing, because when you're behind another driver, I don't know how to describe this. How do you get, is it when you lose the 1 second, where is it that you lose the boost mode? Is it out of the final corner? Is it here where you lose the boost mode? I'm not quite sure, because you're supposed to have it with you for the rest of the lap, and now he's lost it. So Bruce has lost the DRS, the boost mode, sorry, as we see somebody tumbling down the order. That's Mr. Wiggles in P21. So horrible race there for Mr. Wiggles, gone from bad to worse for him as he crawled on the track there. So this longevity, long enduring race, unfortunately for him, is not going well. The man that took a podium away from Carvid at the British GP, and here comes Pirelli side by side almost with the Mercedes in towards turn 1. There's a McLaren trying to get involved as well. The Mercedes goes a bit late at the brakes there and stays ahead of Pirelli, as Pirelli with the boost mode comes back at Energy Dan in towards turn 2, but Energy Dan is also a bit on the brakes as well in towards turn 2. Mr. Wiggles did say he's running no traction, that's why he's struggling in this race, that's why he's not up there like he used to be. But here comes Pirelli then with the better exit, side by side with Energy Dan, but Energy Dan there parks the car in front in turn 4. Is able to pass him for the time being in towards turn 4. Pirelli looking for other ways. Wherever he tried to do so, he's got the boost mode. As Energy Dan there, he just outbrakes himself in every single corner, and Pirelli is stuck behind the Mercedes driver for the time being, so he can't get past him. Looking for ways past, but Energy Dan seems to be a lot comfortable on the brakes there, and Pirelli is being halted by the Mercedes in front of him as well. For good measure, here he comes then with the boost mode again and the active aero. But Energy Dan outbrakes himself going towards turn number 13. Will Pirelli present an opening for him? No, he won't, so he has to wait for him on the straight, losing so much time behind Mercedes driver as we now make our way towards the final corner. Is this a chance for Pirelli to get past him finally as we exit the final corner? This spinner is Aston Martin, I think it's Mr. Wiggles, who is just pitted and going for a spin. He's letting no traction, and unfortunately for him, it's gone from bad to worse as we head down towards turn 1. Even with the boost mode available, Pirelli still can't get past, but look at Matty trying to go around the outside towards turn 1, but surely Fartal, there is no space there on the outside. But with the better exit here, because Pirelli on the inside of Energy Dan, is this the moment he takes away P10? He goes wide out of turn number 2, does Energy Dan, but Babelli there still can't find a way past. So this is great defending from Energy Dan, but it's really hurting the performance of Babelli because he can't get past him as Energy Dan there struggles through turn number 4. You can see him with a bit of airplane damage too. That's why it explains why Energy Dan is losing so much time and pace as the Aston Martin driver of Mr. Wiggles is struggling with no traction. I think this is the worst game in terms of if you were a traction driver in the last games and I turned it off. I think this is the worst one because this traction here is a lot more difficult in comparison to other games. I think 2022 was the game where traction was still difficult because in 4th gear you still have massive wheels, but Babelli gets down the inside by the way of Energy Dan as Milan has left the session, so unfortunately he's gone again, but Babelli goes now up into P10, finally dispatches the Mercedes driver. Or is it my internet, because I seem to be the one lagging? I think it's Milan lagging, not me, so unfortunately for him he is out of the session and maybe the party too. Yep, he's left the party. But here comes Energy Dan in on the inside of the Haas, but has to stay behind him. But Energy Dan now has the boost available to him. How much more power, how much more speed does the boost give you in comparison to the driver ahead as well? And managing battery is going to be so difficult as well because you just don't have the I think it's the MGU-H that's missing or something like that, and that's why it's not recovering as much battery as it used to be. Something with Mega Joules as well. It's a lot to explain on this game in terms of the battery, but it drains so sufficiently as well. And yeah, that's why in qualifying you see a lot of people just lift the coast, try to save battery, and it's going to be tactical as well and strategic in terms of when you use the battery too. So you just got to be very careful in terms of use the battery, because if you use too much then you're done for the rest of the lap and you're vulnerable too. And we'll see a lot of people just harvesting the energy. Dora gets a better exit, now we get the boost on the Red Bull driver headed down in towards turn 13. How many times am I going to say boost on this game? As Alas Copo is right behind George. Let's see if he makes an overtake. Yes, he does on the inside towards turn number 1, and seems like a simple pass, which it is. Nice move there for Alas Copo. He promotes himself up into P3 ahead of the Red Bull driver George, but I think his mini compound tyres maybe but slowly starts to come towards an end. Kevin Avison in P1 is still trying to detach himself from Bruce, but Bruce is still there. The gap is 1.2, 1.3, so he's still in the wheel tracks of the McLaren driver, but he's broken him out of his detection point as we see somebody spin in turn number 1, and the Red Bull goes wide, which is allowing McLaren to run. He goes through. Will Durham come through on the outside towards turn 3? He does not, as he stays behind. But Milan Langer is back in the session. The Aston Martin going side by side. Wendy Williams there and Leo Grotto. Leo Grotto then leaving barely the space as the two in battle once again. Durham understeers around the outside. They're not enough grit to do so as he has to stay behind the Williams and Leo Grotto. Milan, I was trying to explain the battery to the viewers, but I'm not really good at explaining this. So do you know any more about the battery?
Well, that's a tough question for someone who has been struggling on this game with the battery management as well. It is quite confusing with the boost mode activation as well. I think it's around here. It's in the final corner. If you're within 1 second, you get it throughout the entire lap, so you'll have an advantage. You have more power in the battery. But for me, what's quite confusing as well, the way it drains sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it does it very quickly, and other times it drains very slowly. So I'm still figuring out myself on this game as we see the battle here between Ronnie and Energy Dan. As Energy Dan is starting to fall back a little bit. Behind that is the Williams of Leo going up the inside of Matty. Quite a fight here in the midfield behind Ronnie in the McLaren. Energy Dan once again under pressure into the braking, so once again going deep. We've seen him do that quite a few times behind. It is Dorman and Matty going side by side between the Aston Martin and the Red Bull. It's the inside line for the Aston Martin, but is he going to be able to hold that? And as Matty's going to try and go around the outside, there is contact, and it's Dorman going around in the Aston Martin. I think that was inevitable, as that is not really a corner where you want to go side by side with such high speed, and also very narrow with that curb on the inside. So unfortunately Dorman becomes the victim in that, and realistically now both Aston Martins in 20 and 21st place. You hate to see it, but it is something we've seen quite often in real life. this season. Same can't be said about Cadillac, because they're running P3 and P6 at the moment in this race. The leading two cars who have started on the hard tires, so going for an alternative strategy, as we see Calvert going almost for a very optimistic scent on the inside of Hicks in towards turn 1. We're just having a look at the moment as we might near a point where the hard tires might become a little bit more of an advantage compared to the medium runners. Not quite sure what the tire wear would be like after 11 laps in a 100% race like this, but I can imagine that the hards might be starting to feel a little bit better as Fireblaze picks up a 3-second time penalty as well, becomes the second driver inside the top 10 to pick up a penalty. Not great news for him either, because there's still a very long way to go, only on lap 12 of this race, but it's quite easy to go just a little bit too wide or cut a little bit too much around this track, and we have to be in concentration for 70 laps. Yeah, something like that can happen quite easily. Unfortunately, it has for the Audi driver, but still, anything can happen up front, as it seems like it has started to settle down a bit inside the top 10 at least, but there's still a great fight going on behind Energy down in P12. It's Leo who picks up a penalty now as well, down in P13. Kevin has got a gap of 2.5 seconds now towards Bruce's Doran, also picking up a penalty, making it going from bad to worse for the Aston Martin driver when the round, as that is Leo almost completely losing his Williams, coming there out of turn 12. Big bank slapper, and now will be under pressure from Mati. Surprised to see that he is already starting to struggle with those rear tires, because he is on the hard tires. Now has a good run potentially on Energy Dan, heading towards the braking zone of turn 1, using that boost, but not really gaining too much. It's going to be at a cent and a half, but Energy Dan, as we've seen so far, is usually quite late on the brakes, but I think that is a little bit too late on the brakes. But I think he will be quite safe, as Prep 1 has retired in pit lane. Was running around P16 for this race. I'm not really quite sure why he has chosen to retire at this point, with only 13 laps into this race. But unfortunately, he becomes our second retirement, going down to 20 as this fight continues on in the midfield. We see that Bruce has gained quite a bit of time now on Kevin on this lap, so maybe a bit of a mistake potentially for Kevin. The gap was 2.5, it's down to 1.6 now between the two, as we got Atascopo on P3. He is now on the hard tires. We'll have to keep an eye out on his lap times compared to the drivers ahead of him who are on the mediums. The gap at the moment is just over 5 seconds between the two, as Leo has gone up the inside of Energy, and they're both almost in the wall there down at turn 12. Not quite sure what happened between those two, but both having gone off track and both losing out a bunch of positions. I think Leo was in the wall. Energy Down was also quite far off track, so maybe a bit of an optimistic move from either of those drivers, as down P14 and P16. And losing their respective position, at Leo into the pit lane as well might have picked up front wing damage, because of that. Xenon behind, also in the pit lane. We saw him having a spin earlier on the opening lap, but I don't think he got damage from that. But Leo definitely has, as he gets a new front ring on his Williams and a brand new set of tires, hard tires, which I don't think he will be able to make it to the end of the race, but at least for a while in this race. And so does Xenon, also onto a brand new set of hard tires. As at the front, as we go on to lap 15 in a few moments time, the gap started to stabilize a little bit between Kevin and Bruce. It's 1.5, 1.6 on one lap. The McLaren is a bit quicker. On the other lap it is the RB. That is just the inconsistency you can have, also with the battery usage, and the way these cars handle now on this game. We see that Alascopo is not quite able to manage their pace just yet, but he's just going to have to wait until the tire advantage will come to him in the next few laps.
Down the inside goes Calvin against Hicks. Hicks doing a mighty job at P5 as well, because I think he used to be a Division 3 driver, now running solidly in P5, so doing a mega job is Hicks in the Ferrari, whilst his teammates under pressure, and now Burnley gets past him up the inside in towards turn 1 and uses the boost as well to accelerate and sweep past the Ferrari and stay ahead in P9. So a great overtake there for Burnley, the Division 3 champion many moons ago. Energy down side by side with Birch, and I think Birch had a wobble on the exit of turn 2 as well, but stays ahead of Energy down. I did see an interesting comment in this comment section about Fireblaze. Let me just check what that was. I think someone talked about how Fireblaze used to chop away the front of the field, but now he's down in P7. Fireplace did tell me that he was running a preset setup, so I don't think he's got a real setup on, just running the games option. So we have not seen the true pace of this man, Division 1 champion, runner-up in Season 18 and Season 17 of Fireplace as well. This man, a true legend in SFR, and he's been around, since Season 16 now, as the Aston Martin. I think he's gone for a spin at the exit of Turn 5. Let's have a look to see who that is. Is it Doran? In fact, my thing's broken. There we go. Let's see who it was. I think it was Doran, who went for a little bit of a spin out of Turn 4-5. Must have touched the curb on the inside line, which you don't want to do, touching the curb on the inside, because that is deadly and will throw the car off balance. But this new game seems to have leveled things out. From last game, Fireblaze was one per home, but currently can't overtake last season's Division 3 champion. Yep, Fireblaze in P7 struggling to overtake the champion of Division 3, and Hicks has been demoted down into P6. Carver's got ahead, he was up to P5. Carver won the Australian Grand Prix this season in Division 1 or 2, because now it's mixed. Oh, Hicks, massive! Oh, he hit the pollard too. That's a big start at the exit of Turn 5 there as well. The car not complying with his inputs, and he seems to be struggling on this mini compound tyres. Maybe still to extend this still mini compound tyre, because I think it's too early to pit. I think drivers could do the 2-stop strategy. I'm quite sure if a 1-stop is going to work on this circuit, because the tyre degradation is too high now. And maybe Hicks is starting to feel the effects of those tyres going the way as well. The rears can slide a lot as well, especially with traction, when you're always fighting away and having massive wheel spin at the exit 2 of heavy braking zones as well. But the gap's stabilising a little bit between first and second place, because Bruce is struggling to get the gap under 1 second, but he's staying towards 1.2, 1.4 seconds then. So Kevin's pace is very consistent on the front of the field, just keeping Bruce out of the boost mode and making sure that Bruce does get extra power down the straight to overtake him. So this is really consistent for Kevin Harrison in P1. And like I said before, last season Division 1, he wasn't really challenging at the front of the field. I don't think he scored a podium either, if I can remember correctly. Maybe he did score 1 podium, but I was racing mostly and commentating in Division 1. But he's doing a remarkable job so far in first place, holding his ground, consistent pace at the front of the field, and showing no signs of mistake as well, and just keeping the gap over 1 second as well to remain out of the boost mode for Bus in P2. And the Bus in P2 as well, I've got to say, he's used a lot of battery as well to try and get towards Kevin. Kevin has saved a lot of battery, whereas Bus hasn't. So that's maybe where Bus is struggling in terms of battery, because he's not saving a lot either, whereas Bus is. So he may be deploying the battery at the wrong mode at the wrong time. But the Racing Bull driver doing a remarkable job so far in P2, as long as he's trying to save a bit more battery, but he's not doing so far. He's trying to drain all of it, trying to catch Kevin. But that's where you can be very smart, you know, in terms of using battery. You've got to be very calculated, very smart in terms of when to use the battery, because you can't always use it like you used to in the old games. But that's where Bruce is probably missing out. Try and save some more in the corners, because look at Kevin. I think he's barely using any on the straight so far. But Bruce is using a lot where he shouldn't be, like this, and that's where the battery is depleted as well. And the battery drains rapidly on any track as well, because in the past drivers could use any mode and use the battery for a longer period of time, whereas on this game they can't. So that's why drivers need to manage more if they can in the corners. And lifting and coasting is a big spectacle as well. You've got to lift and coast, especially in qualified as well, and that's where the battery is saved up. So maybe Kevin is better lifting and coasting in compared towards Bruce, but saying that though, the gap is getting closer and closer, so we could see a fight between first and second place again. But this dynamic, this new trial and tribulations of this game, every single driver is getting used to it as well, not just in terms of battery, but in terms of the handling. A lot of drivers are trying to figure out what is the best way to try and use the same battery, whilst trying to figure the handle out too. So trying to do a lot of things at once, but every single driver doing well so far in this race, it must be said. I know a few out there are struggling, trying to understand the dynamics of the car, the structure of the car as well, and this game, but every single driver will eventually get used to it. I'm trying to get used to it as well. And when I was doing a few laps in Australia, and I think it was Sao Paulo and Brazil, Sao Paulo and USA, I had to lift the coast a lot to save battery, and even when I was lifting coasting, the battery would completely be depleted on the straight as well. So I'm trying to figure out how are these drivers doing it, because I'm looking at videos to see how other drivers are managing, and it seems they're just better at managing battery than me. So yeah, it's all about time. Give it time, practice more, understand when and where you can save battery and deploy it on the street. But I know a lot of drivers in this game not really enjoying it because they want to push the flat out. They don't want to be saving battery all the time. They don't want to be playing battery management. Here comes Billy G on Edge Dan as Billy G now goes up into P14 ahead of the Mercedes driver. But Milan, you said you've only done a few laps around in this new DLC. I think you have the same conclusion as me.
It's different, that is for sure, and I've not been enjoying it as much. That is a massive moment once again for Higgs as he loses the back end, but yeah, I haven't really played it that much. I've been struggling with the battery and with the braking zones as well, with the front and rear blocking. So yeah, it does take time to get used to it, and you can definitely tell that some of the drivers have maybe put in a few more hours than another, and taking that time to practice, to learn, and to try and master the ERS strategy as good as they can after only a week's time. So it does take time indeed to get used to it, but that is a mindset you'll have to get yourself into, which is not something I have done myself, because I haven't really taken the time to do it yet, but I guess I will have to as well, if I want to be competitive and stay competitive in league racing. But it's definitely a new adventure. I wouldn't say it's in the right path, but definitely it brings something new to the game. It's a fun challenge, and some others, some people like it, some people don't. But that's always something you'll have on these games, as we see Higgs really closing the gap towards Calvin. It's surprising to see that Calvin is struggling so much. As we see penalties, and one of them is Bruce in second place with a 3-second time penalty, and that could become quite important now. I don't know how many warnings Kevin is personally, but he's got a 3-second time penalty now, Bruce, so that will cost him if Kevin remains clean for the rest of the race. But that's still 50 laps to try and remain clean, which is not the easiest task in the world. But what I was saying is that Calvin seems to be struggling on these hard tires, and Higgs is able to close right back up on his now 20 lap old mediums, and might be lining up a move quite soon, though it's not quite close enough to make a move in turn 1. But we see Calvin struggling with the balance around this track. Might just be a setup issue as well, of course, because we only 1 week into this DLC. The setups are far from optimized so far, and usually they're meant for either qualifying or a race on short distance, as nobody really has the time to do that many laps on a single setup. And maybe at the end of these stints, when the tires start to degrade, you will see the vulnerabilities of those setups, and the balance. The drivers losing the control over the cars a little bit more. So that might be the case here for Calvert, as he appears to be struggling quite a bit. We see some more pit stops as Ronnie in the McLaren has gone for a brand new set of hard tires. I think he was around P11, if I am not mistaken. He will come out in P20 in clean air, should be just ahead of Ferrari Fat Boy, as Mr. Wiggles also in pit lane, but he is a full lap behind, as Bruce has gone to will go and try to go for an undercut, as Mr. Wiggles becomes our third retirement, whilst Dorman is into the pit lane as well. But Bruce now onto a brand new set of hard tires, and now the question will be if Kevin is going to respond on this very next lap. What has to do is another entire lap. Bruce will come out in somewhat clean air behind Fireblaze, ahead of Gurgley, so in between the two Audis. But he is a good few seconds behind Fireblaze, and I think the likes of Fireblaze and Hicks should be coming in quite soon, as well, as they've been on these mediums for quite a long while and might start to struggle with those tires, as Kevin making his way through the middle sector around this lap. Is he trying to push for an in-lap? He's got boost mode for some reason, so he might have gotten it from a back mark potentially, so that is going to help him on his in-lap to try and build up that advantage to stay ahead of Bruce, who has now almost got up to the back of Fireblaze, so he's going to have to hope that Fireblaze gets out of the way nice and soon. Kevin, though, is going to stay out for the time being, so going for an alternative strategy, extending the stint a little bit more. So it might have been Bruce who was struggling on those new tires. You can see what the difference is on the new tires. He was over 2 seconds behind Fireblaze once he came out of the pit lane, and now at the end of the lap he is right underneath the rear wing of the Audi, who is also going to try and stay out. So I do wonder if these drivers are going to try and go for a one-stop. Bruce might be a little bit more difficult, but now for sure he's going to be able to get past the Audi now with the help of boost mode and slipstream. He is going to pull to the outside though, so he's going to have to do very, very late on the braking, which he is, but he runs a little bit deep, losing the back end in the progress, but still, well, there you can see the tire difference as he is, well, for him it's way easier to put the power down and accelerate out of turn 1. And Bruce now up at the 6th place, and now he's got a bit of a gap towards Hicks, 4.5 seconds. Between himself and the Ferrari driver up ahead, as we see Probelli in the Haas having completely got at the back to Gurgley, who for sure is starting to struggle on those medium tires. So Probelli looking to find a way past, potentially in the well, maybe throughout this lap or potentially on to the next one, as Kevin is still going to stay out. Yes, he is. So he is definitely extending distance. He wants to go for the one stop. Bruce has called it in early. He will have to do 47 laps on those hard tires. Not sure if that is possible. With the tire, definitely not going to be as easy as potentially Kevin, who was going to pit in, well, maybe a few lap times. As Apex George is into the pit lane as well from P3 in the Red Bull. Also started on the mediums and should be going on to a brand new set of hard tires. And we'll see where he is going to come out. As Probelli has got past Gurgley because the Audi has gone into the pit lane as well. So definitely arriving, hit the pit stop stages of this race, the first pit stops. And we see the drivers who started on the mediums switching over to a brand new set of hard tires, and Apex Shorts coming out in a nice patch of clean air behind Probelli and ahead of Keeves, who is still staying out on his medium tires. Now the question is, when is Kevin gonna make his pit stop? The gap towards Atlas Coppo is around 9 seconds, so I said a couple of laps ago that he was just gonna have to wait and see when the tires will come towards him, but really hasn't gained at all. And Kevin, in fact, he's lost a couple of seconds to the McLaren and the RB over the past 10 laps. So definitely seems like Kevin and the RB of Bruce have got a pace advantage in this race around this track, as Kevin will continue on for at least another lap as we go on to lap 25. But Atlas Coppo in the Haas, in the Cadillac, is going to go into the pit lane from the hard tires. So that is a very early pit stop, and that for sure indicates he is going for a two-stop. And his teammate has come into the pit lane as well, so it's going to be a double stack for Cadillac. Both drivers started on the hard tires, and both of them coming in at the end of lap 24.
Yeah, bizarre. I thought they would go longer on their stint and go to the compound tyres, but this is a new set of hard compound tyres for the Cadillac team. So quite surprised to see them both on the hard compound tyres again. Maybe they think the tyre wear is just too high and detrimental, and that's why they've gone hard, medium. So very bizarre strategy indeed, as Kevin has left the session. Have I left the session, Milan? Are you still there?
I can see drivers leaving as well. I think you're still there, so I'm not too sure what has happened.
Yeah, a few drivers leave the session. So Kevin has left, Hicks has left. So yeah, Kevin is out of the session, and that's gonna be damaging for his lead, because the longer he stays out, the worse it'll get. And let's see then how much time he's losing so much time. Bruce is like under 90 seconds away. So we've got some internet bugs here, and his AI staying out as well. I think that's what Kevin would have wanted as well. So unfortunately, Kevin, the race leader, is out of the session. I thought I liked that because multiple drivers on my screen were leaving, and that usually means I left as well, unfortunately. So Hicks has been demoted down into P4. Leo Grotto has retired from the race. A safety car has been deployed. Low grip, straight mode, and boost restricted. That's what it said. But the Williams has crashed. That's where, was it Marcus Ericsson crashed in 2014 in the wet conditions, and Grosjean too. Grosjean crashed the same place, but on the other side of the track as well, a couple of laps later under a safety car. So unfortunately, Leo Grotto has crashed at turn number 4, and he is out of the race, and that could really save Kevin, you know, because Kevin's AI hopefully pits and puts himself on the hard compound tyres, but he's out there so far. He's still in the midi compound tyres he started with, but I'm sure his AI will pit because that's the wise thing to do. So I think Kevin has been saved by the safety car, and once he rejoins, He'll be on newer hardcore powered tyres in towards Brus, same as Brus, sorry, and Atlas Coppo. Well, ideally have to stay out too because he can't switch to a new mini compound tyre because if he does, that means you have to take them towards the end or go for the pit stop, and they definitely can't go towards the end. So he's in a bit of a difficult situation in P3. Apex George on a new set of mini compound tyres in P4. Fireblaze is just pitted. He's in P5 there in the Audi. Calvin's P6 and Eddie Dan picks up a 10-second speeding penalty for in the pit lane. So that's him. Well, his race, unfortunately for him, has been ruined. But a lot of drivers, they're taking the new mediums or hardcore powered tyres. But Kevin's AI is making his way towards the pits, and it does pit. So looking for him, his AI does pit, and I really hope he can get back in the session as quickly as he can because he was doing such a mega job. He was controlling and dominating this race. But hopefully he can get back in the session quickly, and he may rejoin ahead of Brus, depending where he is right. So Brus is exiting the final few corners. Here he comes. Can Brus jump Kevin out of the pit lane? Kevin is on a new set of mediums.
On the mediums.
I think that was the his strategy call. Was it his strategy call? Would he switch over to the hardcore powered tyres before his pit stop? Did he forget to do it? Did he want to do a 2-stop? Is it medium hard now for Kevin Avison? Has his plans changed? As Brus did not jump him. He did not jump him out of the pit lane. Kevin stays in first place. So Kevin, he's got to rejoin this session now if he wants a chance of winning still. But his AI pitted onto a new set of medium compound tyres. Did he want to do a 1-stop? Or was it always the plan to do a 2-stop, medium hard? But he had such good pace. I think he could have done a 1-stop being mediums to hards. Well, Brus was going to do mediums to hards as well, I think. So, yeah, I don't think Kevin's in a bit of a situation here now in P1 because unfortunately his AI pitted, but was it the right tyre? I'm not quite sure. So the safety car then has came out to reduce things in this race caused by Leo Grotto, who crashed out of turn before, which means everybody who was split up can now be formed together. And I wonder in this second half of the race will it spring to life because every single driver has been brought back into the mix. Hicks is on a new set of compound tyres, but probably that was AI doing that. So I'm not quite sure why the AI chose a set of soft compound tyres, and he'll be absolutely furious if he can get himself back in the session C that he's on a set of soft compound tyres. And a set of softs around any track is just so rubbish really, isn't it? Even on a new game, it's just so punish. It's just so such a bad tyre really. It's only used for qualifying and when safety cars come out later towards the end of the Grand Prix, like about 5, 6, 7 laps left to go in a race. That's when the safety car usually comes out. But for some reason, the AI here, the timing board, is going absolutely crazy with loads of people's proper places. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. So we've got a few jumping back and forth, but Mr. Wiggles is also out of the Grand Prix too. He crashed ages ago, and that's why he's out. The only Aston Martin left is Duran in the Aston Martin Honda. Of course, Honda have taken over Aston Martin, but unfortunately, it's not going well for their team at all after being at the back of the field. But at the Monaco Grand Prix, they picked up a point with Fernando Alonso, and that was, well, it wasn't a great race for them because they were slow, but they benefited from many people in front of them picking up penalties, speeding penalties, and Russell get a drive through as well. Monaco Grand Prix was very weird indeed because loads of people picked up a penalty in that race for speeding, but I think there was a problem. Brus, for some reason, is going for a move on Kevin. Don't do that because you'll get a penalty. Just stay behind. Just stay behind. And if he does rejoin the session before the safety car comes in, that's tough. But just stay behind him because if you do overtake him, you will get a penalty indeed for overtaking the AI. So just be careful, just be wary about that one and don't do anything stupid. I know he's got a 3-second penalty. I know he wants to get the jump on Kevin, but yeah, unfortunately for him, he does have a penalty. Kevin Atlas Coppo P3 looking really good so far in the Cadillac in the new rebranded team, driven by Bottas and Perez. Up into P3. Perez did finish P10 after Hulkenberg's penalty, but Perez was out of box again for twice in a row. I'm not quite sure how Perez managed that, being out of the box there twice in a row. And unfortunately for Cadillac, they did not score their first points. It would have been poetic if they did, because Marussia scored their first points in Monaco, didn't they, 2014, and Cadillac could have done the same thing. But unfortunately for Cadillac, Perez was out of position and got himself a penalty. Luca Hulkenberg did score points too, but he got himself a 10-second time penalty for taking out Carlos Sainz as well. And Russell got so many penalties in the race, he got demoted out of the top 10, which is crazy. And now he's 68 points behind Kimi Antonelli. Kimi Antonelli on an absolute streak so far. Generational driver. And Hicks is in the pit lane. He's AI. Well, he's came back now. And now he's pitted once again to get rid of the soft compound tyres. So what a shame for him. But Kimi Antonelli is doing a mega job so far. 5 wins in a row for the young Italian. Many more things to come from him. And for George Russell, it could be an absolute pain in the backside to see his teammate get 5 wins in a row. The last Mercedes driver to do that was Lewis Hamilton to get 5 in a row. Nico Rosberg has done so as well in the Mercedes before in the past, and now Kimi Antonelli has done it as well. Every time a driver's taken 5 wins in a row, they've gone on to win the championship, and I'm pretty sure the way things are going, Kimi Antonelli is on course to win the championship as well, because there seems no stopping him. After all the pressure, after everything thrown at him, I don't think there's nobody out there that can stop him, even his own teammate George Russell. So what has Russell got to do to stop him? You'd think this season that Kimi Antonelli would be the one to be under massive pressure, but because of his second season. But actually, the pendulum has swung around now. Russell is now the one under pressure, and Russell has to perform, because if he doesn't, then it's going to be absolutely embarrassing there. But the British driver, Alas Copo, has hit the back of the bus. They were bunched up in towards that chicane there, and Alas Copo hit the back of the bus, and unfortunately the Cadillac has got front wing damage. All that hard work for him has been undone with that front wing damage, unfortunately. So what a shame there for Alas Copo.
That doesn't help him indeed. But we're still waiting until the safety comes back in. There's still a few drivers who haven't caught up to the field. Kevin has finally rejoined, but I definitely think that he didn't intend to go to a set of mediums, as the safety car will go in at the end of the lap. So I hope for him that he's able to take control over his car before his AI does, before we reach the finish line and we see some lag further down the field. But yeah, he is on the mediums. I think he would have done a medium hard strategy easily. But now he's forced to do a 2-stop as his AI will lead the field out of the final corner. And Bruce will be taking that position away immediately as we go back to green flag racing onto lap 30 of 70. And immediately there goes Bruce past him down towards turn 1 to become our new race leader. And in the background to see some fighting there between Gurgley and Calvin. Up the inside goes the Audi ahead of the Cadillac to put himself into 6th place. As we see Apex Shorts having a look at Atlas Copo going very wide indeed there, as Kevin finally has taken control, and damage limitation as he's still in 2nd place. Apex Shorts goes past Atlas Copo, who's dropping behind now, behind Fireblaze as well, and goes through up at the 4th place. Now of course we know he's got that front wing damage, and you can see he's already starting to struggle, as there's definitely a bit of lag in this lobby unfortunately. And now Gurgley is having half a go up the inside of the Cadillac, but not quite close enough to make a move. You definitely don't want to make a move into the chicane, because it will always end up with one driver having to take the escape road, as it's just that tight of a chicane. As we see some fighting in the background as Ronnie has been spun around by someone there. There was a lot of contact there going in towards turns 8 and 9, and Ronnie becomes the victim of that. He drops down to B15. I'm not sure if he's got front wing damage, but he has lost a lot of time and a lot of positions, which is quite unfortunate. But we're still on lap 30, and everyone is still quite close to each other, as Gurgley now goes up the inside of Atlas Copo into the final corner, and through goes the Audi, and down goes the Cadillac to 6th place. Gurgley now up to P5, as Kevin is closing the gap towards Bruce. Now Kevin, of course, for sure he's going to have a tire advantage at this stage of the race. He's got boost mode, he's closing the gap, but he's not quite close enough to convert it into an overtake. But he is lurking at the back of the RB driver, who is on older hard tires. So for sure Kevin is going to get past quite soon, and then he needs to build a gap, because he needs to make at least one more pit stop with the strategy he is currently on. As Burst gets ahead of Keeves to put himself into P9. Now he is on the soft tires, and I think that is what his AI did as well, because he was also one of the drivers who got disconnected before that safety car period. So he definitely didn't want to go into softs, and he's going to have to make a pit stop quite soon as well, because like you said, these soft tires simply just don't last around a track like this. As Kevin now 0.3 of a second behind Bruce. Is he going to be able to make that move down the start-finish straight? He is going to have the boost mode, he's going to have the slipstream. We see Apex George, who's also on the mediums, looking to potentially take that position away. The two Ferraris swapping around, Hicks and Keys fighting it out. just at the back end of the top 10. Look how close Kevin is to the back now of the RB. This time, surely is going to get a go at the RB driver heading towards turn 1, who's going to defend the inside. But Kevin is going to be late from the brakes on the outside, and he's going to try and be late from the brakes to go wheel to wheel for the race lead. The RB on the inside, but on the outside it's Kevin, who keeps his nose, so there's not a lot of space to work with, but it's just enough as he's going to have the inside line in towards turn 2. Oh, and there's contact, and around goes Kevin as he has been hit in the side by Bruce, hitting his side pod on the outside, and for some weird reason that sends the McLaren driver spinning around and down to 6th place. To a driver who was already quite frustrated with that disconnect and his strategy goal. It certainly is not going to make things any better for him. He's down to 6th place. Bruce remains though in 1st. I do wonder if he maybe picked up a bit of damage with that, as he hit the side pod of McLaren quite hard. But at the moment he's still in 1st place, but I wonder for how much longer, because Apex George is looking at the back and he's going to go up the inside in towards turn 12. Not quite, he thinks about it, but it's only a look to the inside. But now probably thinking about lining up a move, potentially heading in towards turn 1. We see Bruce there a bit unstable in towards the penultimate corner. It is going to be Apex George who is going to have the boost mode to his advantage as he comes out of the final corner. He's 0.3 of a second behind as we go on to lap 33 of 70. It's going to be a long lunge for the Red Bull, but he's going to stay behind for the time being. He doesn't want to rush since we're still only just before the halfway point of this race. But the fight at front is heating up once again. Having a look now up the inside in towards turn 2. But Bruce on the outside is able to maintain the lead of this race, but look at the terrain. He is forming behind him now as well. Fireblaze in P3, Early in P42. Audi's looking quite racy as well since the restart, and it's definitely Bruce who is really struggling on these stars. He's got the older stars out of the field besides Ronnie, and it's showing as Apex George is looking left, right and center to try and find the way past, but at the moment he just can't do so.
Yeah, he pitted early in this race, tries to undercut, and now he's on the oldest tyres with Apex George right behind, looking very racy. The man that won the British GP last week, he absolutely dominated the race last week, and now he's about to lead the Grand Prix. Has to head down in towards turn 12. Has he made the move stick? Yes, he has. As we see Fireblaze get alongside the Racing Bull. Now the Racing Bull is really struggling. As we see Gurgley on the inside of his teammate. The 2 Audis go wheel to wheel out of turn 13 we go, and we'll see which one of these two will get ahead. I think it's Gurgley who tries to get ahead. He goes wide and he stays ahead. He does. Gurgley takes away P3. What a sensational move, as he sends an opening and he took it. And now he's at the back of the Racing Bull driver as we head down in towards turn 1, left or right. It's around the outside in towards turn 1. Kevin's down the into the Fireplace. Gurgley trying to go around the outside. He's on the curb there, but gets a better exit, I think, in comparison towards the Racing Bull. Going down in towards turn 2. Let the brakes goes the Audi. Gurgley's on the inside on in towards turn 2. He takes away P2, and now behind us, Fireplace has lost one more place because Kevin is wheel to wheel with him out of turn 3, but Kevin is unable to make that move successfully as the Racing Ball goes off the track. The Racing Ball is struggling in this race, and guess what? Fireblaze and Kevin are right behind him. Kevin looking racy on these big compound tyres. He's still got the grip on his mediums to make some head waves as the Racing Ball goes off the track. He outbreaks himself, comes to chicane, and through goes Fireblaze. Will Kevin come through on the outside? Yes, he does. Kevin takes away P4, but the man has spun him, and now he's up into P4 behind Fireblaze. A chance of winning is still on the table here for Kevin because he's got some great pace in the McLaren, but Bruce is really struggling. He is tumbling down the order. I'm not quite sure, he's got some damage there on the Racing Ball, but off the track goes Alex Copo's in the wall like Verstappen did in 2020. He's gone off, straight off, and in the wall he goes. Just outbroke himself. I think he touched the curb on the outside, didn't he? I think he was launched to the curb there and just going to stop the car, and now he was a passenger all the way down towards the barriers. And unfortunately for him, he's lost so many places. Atlas Copo was doing such a great job in the race, and he's tumbled all the way outside the top 10. Kevin down the inside in towards turn 1 on Fireblaze. Let's see if Kevin can make a move on the champion. He can't. Gets a bit of a wobble on that turn 1 there. Fireblaze still ahead, but down the inside, nope. I thought for 1 second he might do an under and over and dummy on Fireblaze, but he didn't do so. He stays in P4. But he sees much quicker than Fireblaze, last season champion, under pressure. And Kevin, with much more battery, gets ahead. But Fireblaze tries to go on the outside. He has no grip and no space there and has to give the place up. Fireblaze started to P4. Keith has spun out turn 2 or turn 3. I think yes, he has. So unfortunately, Keith is going from bad to worse there for the Ferrari driver indeed. From the Monaco, from the highs of Monaco to the low here at the Hungarian Grand Prix. He has dropped into 13th place, but Kevin Everson is back up into P3 on the newer tyres in comparison towards Gurgley and Apex George. So Kevin is on the charge once again after being spun out at turn number 1. But let's see if Kevin now can make some inroads on Gurgley and George and chase him down. We are now officially past the halfway mark in this Grand Prix. Lap 35 out of 70. There is still 35 laps left to go in this race. Anything could happen in this Grand Prix, and it's shaping up to be a good one indeed. Kevin Everson now has the boost mode on the back of Gurgley, so he's hunted him down, going down in towards turn 1 here. But he used a lot of battery on the last lap to try and get past Fireblaze, so maybe this lap he has to save some and use it down the straight on the next lap to get past Gurgley. Meanwhile, Fireblaze, on the other hand, in P4, struggling once again. I just saw him sliding through turn number 1. A lot of people who use no ABS do struggle in this race in terms of sliding. The rear lock-in is massive as well, so you have to be very careful when you brake it towards the heavy braking zone. I've experienced it as well because I run no ABS and I struggle massively in the braking zone. I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm trying a lot of different things, a lot of different techniques, but I just can't adapt to it. So I've got a lot more adaptation to come still and try to get used towards the braking. So yeah, battery, the braking, the acceleration, the handling, the setups, everything I've got to get used to. I'm not massively off the pace, but I'm still way off than I want to be. It's just the fact that I'm just struggling with some aspects of the game. Kevin rides to the back of Gurgley. This time, not going to go down the inside. There's a lot of space on the inside there, but Gurgley is out wide. Kevin will be aggressive around the outside. Surely not in towards turn 13. Will he try to stick him on the outside? Not enough space there, but surely now get a better exit than Gurgley and get past him down the main straight with the helping hand of the boost. As we exit the final corner, straight mode activated, the boost activated. Kevin in the slipstream, left or right? It is the left hand side, trying to go on the outside in towards turn 1, but not outbreaking himself there, just waiting for the right moment indeed as Gurgley goes out wide a little bit on the exit. Now Kevin surely has the better exit to go down the inside in towards turn 2, but not this time, just has to stay behind him. We just seen a lot of this as well in the race. Kevin swapping left to right, this time up the hill towards turn 3 and turn 4. Not many overtakes on the inside or outside there, but still could get past him. So I thought that when Kevin was right behind him could get past him, but not to be on this occasion. So still waiting for an opening there against Gurgley, who's trying everything he can to keep the McLaren driver at bay. But for how much longer it's going to be, because it seems like Kevin is the most faster driver, much more confident on this game in comparison towards the last one. But with that disconnect, they were looking for a vengeance and try and win this Grand Prix for his first win, I think, here in SFR in Division 1. Hicks picks up another penalty in this race for him, sadly down there in, where is he right now, down to P10. A disconnect and a penalty, unfortunately for him, hasn't gone his way at all. He's still inside the top 10, fighting away with Zenham in P9. Zenham spun earlier in this race and now he's up into P9, so good recovery there from the Haas driver. Kevin surely now with the better exit and the boost mode available. No, he can't still get past him, so he's struggling there against the Audi driver, who is doing a match job keeping the McLaren driver at bay. But how much longer can he keep the McLaren driver behind as well, because he's got a lot of work to do keeping the McLaren behind. I'm surprised that Kevin can't get past him and still stood behind there. And Fireblaze 2 in P4 looking good there in the Audi. Maybe his tyres started to be better than the McLaren's and his teammates. He's on the hardcore power tyres, of course, so maybe their tyres are starting to come into play at this stage in the race. Whilst Gurgley doing everything he can to defend against Kevin. The longer he keeps Kevin behind, the better for Apex George, because Apex George is just streaking away with no problems whatsoever. He's doing a really good job building that gap bit by bit, so he needs to use every chance he gets to build that gap up, because I think Kevin, I dare say, is faster, but just can't seem to find a way past him as he tries everything in the book he can. Different places, different tactics, but still the same result, stuck in P3. And with that blistering pace he had at the start of the Grand Prix, I thought he would have blasted past him and left him behind with no problems, as Ferrari Fat Boy has left the session down there in P18. But I said this last time, it was close, but not close enough. This time has 100% battery, but surely will overtake him down towards turn 1. He's essentially pushed him through the corners of the final corner. Now, with the boost mode available to him, will he go around the outside in towards turn 1? Outbreaks him. Let's see what he does. Side by side, another pegging in the breaker zone. But I think Gurgley still has the edge over Kevin. Kevin lost traction and stays behind him. So even with 100% battery and boost, he's still not going to get past him. He still stays behind him. This is incredible defending from Gurgley. He's not doing really anything wrong, is he? He's placing the car at the right times. He's not moving left to right. His defensive skills are immaculate, and he's keeping him in P2 so far. Kevin must be so frustrated because he knows he's losing so much time against Apex George for first place.
It is interesting to see how these regulations affect the racing, especially down the start-finish straight, or a straight that is a bit shorter than usual, because normally, at least on last year's game, it's still like the same game as last year's cars. You had the battery and the DRS. If you deployed the battery, you had a massive advantage when trying to overtake us. Once again, he has a look, but still can't quite find a way past. But you had that massive overspeed when you deployed the battery. And if you had much more battery, it's so easy to overtake on the previous with the previous cars. But on this game with these cars, even if you have a full battery, if you're within 0.2 of a second within the slipstream out of the final corner, as long as the car ahead has a bit of battery, that burst that you get once you deploy is just enough to still have a chance of defending. As once again, Gurley on the inside, there's wheel banging heading towards turn 1. Kevin on the outside, once again losing the back end, and that allows Fireblaze to take that position and promote himself up at the P3, to the great frustration to Kevin, I'm sure, as he's now once again having to find a way past this Audi driver. He's still stuck behind the two Audis. And you can also see the gap now growing towards Apex George. It's 3.5 seconds now between Apex George and Gurley in second place. But yeah, what I was saying, it's you can't really make the difference down the start-finish straight without the DRS and without the battery as it used to be on the previous generation of cars with the previous regulations. So definitely strange to see how that has affected the racing in that sense. And Gurley is doing a great job, and now Kevin picks up a 3-second time penalty, so the advantage that he had to the majority of the field of not having a penalty has slipped away from him as well now on lap 40. There's still 30 laps remaining. Now once again looking at the back of Fireblaze, but he's been looking at the back of an Audi for the past couple of laps. He's been incredibly close to the back of an Audi on the past couple of laps, but he's just unable to make the move. Fireblaze not quite defending, and now the McLaren goes up the inside in towards turn 1. Is that going to be able to get in that position? I think it is, because the outside, it's so difficult to accelerate, and through goes the McLaren. Fireblaze losing the position immediately to the McLaren, and well, not doing the same that his teammate did on those previous laps of defending. As here goes Fireblaze looking to have a go, as Birch has retired from the session, unfortunately. Becomes our 5th retirement in this race in the Williams, which is not what you want to see, of course, but still a long way to go for these drivers. Kevin, 0.3 of a second. Apex George gaining time on these drivers, but not by too much, maybe a tenth or two over a lap, but still he's in the clean air. He doesn't have to push as much, and he can use up, he can save the battery, though he is using quite a bit of battery to build a gap as big as possible, because he probably knows that once Kevin is released into free air, that gap probably will calm down very, very quickly, as Kevin finds himself in the similar scenario that he has been over the past 6 laps or so. And once again, Gurley having a decent enough exit, but now Kevin trying to look to the inside, but the Audi shuts the door closed, and it's going to be the outside once again for Kevin. And Gurley late on the brakes. Kevin is going to try and go for a switchback. Oh, there's a mistake on the exit for Gurley, losing the back end, but still he is able to stay ahead of the McLaren, who just cannot find a way past, as everything that Gurley does is successful in his defense. And he's able to stay in front. Now Kevin is going to have a go on the outside, but surely that's not going to work out as we go towards turn 5. Bit of contact between the two. Now we got a switch back there for the McLaren as Gurley goes deep, as we go side by side. Now on the outside is the McLaren, but he loses the back end as well. And now the inside there is for the Audi in towards the chicane. And for sure it is Kevin who has to take the escape road, go across the chicane, and once again is not past the Audi and stays in 3rd place. And that must be so frustrating inside that McLaren cockpit, with how many laps he's been stuck behind these Audis, and the gap towards Apex George now is 5.2 seconds. That is a big send from the Cadillac of Calvin up the inside of Bruce. I'm not sure if that was fully intentional, as it was quite optimistic, and he well, clearly pushed the RB driver off track, but in the end nothing comes of it as he stays in 6th place with Bruce in P5. Once again, Kevin is going to have a go, but once again, he will find out that the Audi is superb at defending at this stage. As Kevin later on the brakes try and go for a switchback once again, but just not quite as close as he was on the previous. Then Calvert once again now up the inside of Bruce, and this time around he does make the move stick to put himself up at the 5th place. And Bruce, our former race leader, has dropped down to 6th, so I do wonder if he's got damage. That is behind, that is Probelli losing the back end and spinning around through turn 2 on the exit, losing a lot of time. He doesn't lose a position, but he loses his connection towards that train. But with the way that they're fighting for P2, he probably will be at the back of that train in a couple of laps time, because they're just losing so much time to the other drivers by defending and trying to overtake over the past 10 laps from lap 43 of 70, still 27 to go. Now the top 3 probably are going to have to make another pit stop. Apex George, he's been on these tires for 19 laps, Gurgley as well. Kevin has done medium so far, so he needs to make a pit stop because it's not within regulations to go from medium to medium. He needs to go to the hard tire at some point during this race. So the top 3 still need to make a pit stop, but I do wonder if the drivers behind could try and make it to the end on these tires, as once again Kevin is going to be looking at the Audi and he's going to go to the inside this time. Oh, that is a late defensive move there from Gurgley, and there's a bit of contact heading towards turn 1, and that is Kevin losing control and into the side of Fireblaze, and around goes the McLaren. Contact with the Audi. There was damage for at least one of the drivers. I think it was Kevin. No, it's Fireblaze who has lost the end plate, and I think Kevin as well as well. That was quite a hectic moment. That reminded me a little bit of what was it, Schumacher and Barrichello. Yeah, a couple of years ago. It was a really late defensive driving there from Gurgley this time around. He's been defending superbly over those past 10 laps, but I think that one might be a little bit over the edge with how late he moved to the inside to try and cover off the McLaren, who went onto the grass, made slight contact in towards turn 1.
Well, that's been Alan Langer out of the session. Both of us are struggling with connection issues. He's left the party now, so yeah, it's a massive shame. Yeah, Glosser's also left too. We're just struggling with internet here, but like Milan said, Barrichello Schumacher. Barrichello said black flag for that, black flag for that. That was horrible. I think Kevin Addison is going to be saying the same thing in his cockpit, saying black flag for Gurgley, because that was a very late move indeed. You can't move like that, Gurgley. And he tried everything he could to keep Kevin behind, but that was a bit too much, just over the rules. And I think Gurgley could face a bit of jeopardy towards in the Grand Prix turns or penalties. There's Fireblaze, who got caught up in an instant with Kevin in turn. Well, Kevin lost traction in the exit of turn 1, and Fireblaze was caught up in an instant too. And those two both have been put at disadvantage as Fireblaze there, struggling to the corners. Kevin, you would have thought, should have easily won this Grand Prix, but ever since that disconnect, things have just gone wrong, haven't they? And it was going his way, wasn't it? He had this race in his hands, had it in the bag, but things changed massively, and fortunately for Kevin, it has gone horribly wrong, and out of the script for him to win this race, and now he's stuck behind Fireblaze. He's been staring at the back of a barrel of the Audis for such a long time, and he just can't seem to move past them. Just seems to be stuck there. But Fireblaze, will he pit to get rid of that fluid damage? He does not pit, so he decides to stay out there. Kevin will try and overtake him on the outside of the final corner. That was spectacular indeed. And now he's up into P5 ahead of Fireblaze. But Fireblaze surely not thinking about fighting back underneath, down in towards turn 1. Here he comes on the outside. Kevin would ideally love to get that place done, which he does. Kevin up into P5. Fireblaze trying to go on the outside. Yeah, breaks himself massively, and the deed is done. Fireblaze now down into P7 after trying to reclaim P5, but that was a bit optimistic there. He was never going to get back the position. He broke himself, and with that damage, didn't have the downforce to slow the car down or nor to turn the corner then. So it looks like things now have settled down, but the battle for P2 is still continuing with Gurgley, Calvert, Bruce. those two on the hardcore power tyres, will they have to make another pit stop again? I'm not quite sure. Maybe because their tyres will be degraded towards the end, especially Bruss in P4, who pitted very early in the first stint. Probelli in P6 does not have a penalty. We've got a McLaren who spun out of turn number 1. I think that is Ronnie, who has gone for a spin again in turn number 1. He's struggling there in that McLaren. But Apex George is in the pit lane then to get rid of his medium compound tyres there. So it's going to be medium hard for him. Let's see where he rejoins in the pecking order. He should rejoin maybe ahead of the Haas of Zenham. Who, for his sake, he rejoins to clean air because that's what he needs right now, clean air. For his bid to win the Hungarian Grand Prix. He won in Silverstone a week ago. He could win for the second consecutive time. And what a driver would be for George there with P9. He's got some work to do though, because maybe Bruce Calvin will not pit again, neither will Probelli. So he has to chase those cars down. But ideally, I think Kevin and Gurgley are also his main rivals too. So the deed is not done for that for George in P9. He's got to push still and utilise these hardcore power tyres now and push all the way to the ends. There is 23 laps to go in this Grand Prix, so still a long way to go in the Grand Prix. Safety cars could happen, but so we did have a safety car early on in this race too, which caused a bit of a mess because of people lagging out too. So Gurgley, what will he decide to do? As we can see the Cadillac of Calvin just sliding through turn 11 there. I think Perez a couple of years ago, well 10 years ago, crashed there massively as well in that Pacific corner. And 2013 in the McLaren is when Perez crashed. But Ronnie is out of the race, and in the pit lane comes Calvin and Bruss. So they will not take the hardcore power tyres towards the end of this race. But Calvin there struggling massively, and he gets a 10-second tyre penalty, which pretty much guarantees you've lost this race. Ah, what a shame for Calvin. I didn't think the pit lane would be too detrimental for these drivers, but it is. Caused a few drivers a bit of pain. So 22 laps needs to be compound tyres for Calvin. He did start the hard compound tyres, so he's got to use these mediums to effect now. So out of the pit lane comes Calvin. He rejoins ahead of Bruss and Duran too in the hard. Sorry, in the Aston Martin, not in the hard. Duran still running in the Aston Martin. He was last few laps ago, but he's in P10 now in the points paying position. And Milan Langer, my partner in crime, is fighting back with his internet. So that's the second time he's gone. I think me and him have to sort out internet. It's a good stream, but the stream gets ruined massively when it comes to internet, and that's why we're both struggling, because it just affects our performance a lot. Ruins our flow, our momentum, and our stream to you guys as well. So hopefully our internet will get better now, as he has joined by the party and the session, so he has kept me company. But Zenham, he's under massive pressure from George. George would dearly love to get past Zenham because he can't afford to get stuck behind him. Well, he has a massive gap behind, which is 6 seconds over Carver. So just don't do anything radically. Don't do anything stupid behind the Haas. Just overtake him nicely and easily too. Don't mess around with him. As we now exit the final corner, the active aero and the boost mode is activated. Here he is side by side, but Zenham not giving up just yet. Although he has to concede the place. Not yet though. George does not go for a move down towards turn 1. He can't afford to be stuck behind the Haas, because the longer he holds him up, the better for George. Gurgley in P1 and maybe Bruss and Carver too, as he looks to go for an opening down the inside in towards turn 2, but not enough space just yet. So a bit hesitant to make the move. Some people would just dive bomb it down the inside, but here comes George now, and a much better exit, and slides past the Haas driver and goes up into P6. So nice one there. He was very cautious, didn't want to make any sort of mistakes behind him, didn't want to make contact with him either, so he's very cautious to his approach to overtaking. But luckily for him, he did get it done, easily done, and now Fireblaze is the driver ahead. But Zenham spun again in the same spot where he spun, I think, on the first lap. Down in 8th, he goes on 9th, and Milan is back. So Milan, I'm going to give you some context about Zenham, and the context about Zenham. So basically, Zenham is a very quick driver. He's been around SFR for such a long time. As Carver gets out, the Bruss is stopped. Bruss has slowed down for some reason, and he's behind Zenham now. I'm not quite sure why he's done that. He's on the Brabantse midi compound tyres, and he's let Carver go, and now let Zenham go. But back to my story towards Zenham. So basically, he's a very, very quick driver, quick in qualifying and in the race, but the man makes so many mistakes, and we had a running meme going in Division 2 seasons ago, and it's still going on now, where we would anticipate what lap Zedham would spin. And in the comment section too. Oh, Kevin spun. Yeah, yes. Kevin spun out turn 3. Oh, this race can't go from bad to worse. Kind of for Kevin on them old mini compound tyres. He spun where Leo Grotto spun, but luckily kept the car intact and still going. But his podium now is becoming in peril with a few drivers there in better place than him. And he's still got to pit yet in his Grand Prix too. So he could lose a podium even as well in P3. Could have gone bad for Kevin Adi, but 20 laps left to go in this race. Gergely is still extending, which is quite surprising there in P1. But back to my point towards Zedham, he would literally spin every single race. Sometimes he would be in the top 5, fights away from the front of the field, and whenever he would spin, he made that spectacular move. He overtook 4 cars in one go in turn 1 in Miami, cleanly as well. Not any contact with anybody. He overtook 4 cars in one go. Then afterwards, in turn 3, he spun by himself, which was quite humorous indeed. But we do have a running meme going about Zedham. He always spins no matter what. He's a driver who's been trying. He has got a few race wins under his belt and a few podiums, but some of those races has come at a massive cost as well. And I've mentioned this before, he's a driver who's resilient. He never ever gives up. He always keeps going no matter what situation he is. No matter how many times he's spun. He's been in SFR for such a long time, for years now, and he's still going as well. A quick driver, a very funny driver indeed. I've had the pleasure and luxury to interview him, and despite his troubles, he always lasts as well, which is very nice to hear as well. But yeah, Zedham, that's the story about him, if you want to know. He always spins, but he's a driver who can deliver sometimes.
Keeves has retired from the race, as we see Calvert and Bruce still fighting it out. But yeah, I was wondering what that comment was at the beginning of the race, but now it does make sense. So thank you very much for that insight. It sure helps me, as I'm not as familiar with this league as you are, obviously. So each and every single race, I learn more and more, and I do like it to hear things like that. But unfortunately, Keeves, his race comes to an end. Becomes our, well, how many 7th retirement of this race, as Bruce is looking at the back of Calvert as our race leader. Gergely is into the pit lane in the Audi. I wonder what tire he's going to go on to. I wonder what tires he's got available. There's only 18 laps to go, so he could make it. He's coming to a soft. That is an optimistic strategy. Yeah, very optimistic. I don't know how long those softs last, but I don't think 18 laps is the answer. He did 27 on the mediums, with a few of which were under safety car conditions, as he comes out just behind Zenon and just ahead of Corbelli, so the 2 Haas drivers for company, and he's going to want to dispatch the Haas ahead of him as quickly as possible. With the soft tires, should be able to get them moved on. 24 old lap hard tires compared to brand new softs. Sure, he's going to get them moved on quite soon. But yeah, soft tires to the end, that is going to be quite difficult to manage. He's going to have to do some tire saving, tire management. So I do wonder why he's gone for that strategy. He has made 2 pit stops, so surely he had either the medium or the hard available, depending on what tire allocation he chose before the race. If he had chosen the harder tire allocation, then I guess it makes sense, because 18 laps on hard tires. But I would still prefer 18 laps on hard tires compared to 18 laps on soft tires. But that's just my personal view on that. But we'll see if it's going to work out for him. He for sure is going to have the pace advantage in the next couple of laps. Kevin unfortunately picks up another physical time penalty, and he has gone to the softs as well a lap earlier. So he believes that he's going to make it work on the softs now. That is something that I can get behind with, because his tire saving in the first end was quite good, but he's struggling at the moment with the balance of his McLaren, as he has a big moment through the final, the penultimate corner, losing the back end, and well, struggling in general. Ever since that first stint, ever since he got disconnected in the safety car, things has just not gone his way. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have been fighting at the front, or dominating at the front, and probably on course to win this race. But that is definitely not the case, because that is probably what Apex Shorts is doing right now. Hicks made a pit stop a couple of laps after the safety car, because his AI put him on the softs during the safety car. And of course the softs don't last that long, so a few laps after he went to the hards. But I'm curious what his tires are like at this stage, because there's 17 laps to go. We haven't seen anyone do a stint longer than I think 27 laps so far, which is something we will achieve right now, because Far Race is on 27 hard tires. But if he can make it to the end, Hicks, then he's on for a great result. but unfortunately does have a penalty as Calvert up the inside of Fireblaze, who's got damage and all tires. And it's going to be a matter of time before Bruce and Gurgley get past him as well. That is Gurgley up the inside of Bruce to the penultimate corner. That's an optimistic move, and it's a great move from Gurgley indeed. And I'm sure his teammate's not going to make his task any difficult. Round the outside goes the Audi of his teammate. And now Bruce is going to go up the inside, potentially as well with Fireblaze, heading towards turn 1, with Gurgley making great use of those soft tires. As that is Bruce up the inside in towards turn 1 as we go wheel to wheel. And Bruce gets ahead of Fireblaze, who drops down to 6th place. Who might try and go to the end of the race on these tires, or otherwise he might have to make a late pit stop to go onto a medium or a potential soft tire, as Gurgley is right at the back of Calvert. Here comes to the outside, and he blasting past the Cadillac, who has run out of battery, and through goes Gurgley up to 3rd place, and the gap towards Apex George is 10 seconds. He's got a 5 lap tire advantage, and the fact that he's on soft compared to the hard tires is going to help him out as well. So he's gonna have to optimize this stint, these next couple of laps. He's in clean air, and he's gonna have to make good use of it, because Apex Shorts is not. He is now right behind Hicks, and we don't know how long Hicks is gonna stay out for. So if Apex Shorts is gonna be stuck behind, because we've seen that a couple of laps ago after his pit stop, is quite hesitant with overtaking these drivers. So if he loses some time, if he stays behind for a couple of laps, that could be an advantage of Gurgley, as we have got a safety car has been deployed, and I'm not too sure why. Oh, what has happened? That is Matty. It's gone off track in the Red Bull, but this has completely thrown things around.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Hicks has been caught out massively by the safety car. Not his fault. The safety car came at the wrong time. He cannot pit because he's right behind the safety car. But it's not. Other people not pitted too. The Hasses are pitted. Apparently there's 3 white drivers on my screen here. I'm not quite sure why. Oh, Cadillac and Haas. Yeah, that explains a lot. But the 2 Hasses are pitted then. Calvert and Papelli. And Calvert is in the Cadillac. But Zedham's pitted as well onto a new set of compound tyres for good measure as well. But what a shame for Hicks, because he would have loved to put on a new set of boots with the safety car coming out, but he can't. He's been massively screwing over. And when he does make a pit stop, he could rejoin probably where Papelli is. He's got slow behind the safety car, whilst others can push at some speed as well. But he's got to adhere to the safety car speed as well, which he's not be happy about. So this safety car has caught out Hicks massively as well, and that's just the safety car timing for you indeed. You just can't anticipate it. It's well out of your factor. And Hicks, well, you have to take a lot of pain. I think he might pit towards the end of this lap because he might get jumped by a bunch of people behind him as well. Fireblaze as well. Did it pit? I'm surprised he didn't pit. Why didn't he pit? Because he had the chance to pit. He was quite a long way back before the safety car came out, or when the safety car came out. He could have pitted onto a new set of mediums or softs and changed his wing too for good measure and be right behind his pack, but he didn't. But Hicks, I wonder how many positions he's going to lose thanks to this safety car. And let's see. Yes, he does. He comes into pit lane on this lap then to change over to a new set of the medium compound tyres. How many positions is he going to lose? Fireblaze as well is in the pits too. Could he rejoin behind Doran? Oh, Hicks has got a 10-second tyre penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And quite a few people in this race have been caught out due to a speeding infringement as well. So, yeah, like Monaco, a lot of people in this race picking up tyre penalties left, right, centre in the pit lane, especially under a safety car as well. It's easily done as well. And I'm not going to criticise him because I do it myself. So I can't really criticise somebody that I do the same thing as myself. But he does reach on the P8 behind or ahead of Doran, and he's only lost a few places, but not many as I anticipated, because there's a massive field spread behind us as well. But Atlas Copo is 45 seconds behind Fireblaze, and that's why there's a massive field spread there too, with a lot more people in the midfield just struggling in comparison towards others as well on this game. So Hicks, you know what, despite his troubles, he lagged out, didn't he? He got put on the wrong tyre by his AI, and he's still running the P8, but he does have a penalty to his name, which will carry the weight of his shoulders towards the end of the Grand Prix. But Apex George, wow, he's the person that wants the safety car the least, because Gurgley has now caught up. He's right at the back of the Red Bull's tail. Gurgley was 10 seconds behind before the safety car came out, and now George's advantage has been slated, has been wiped out clean. And now, last 14, 13, 12 laps of the Grand Prix, George has got some defending to do in P1. And Papelli in the house, the Div 3 former champion in P5, is now possibly looking for a podium in 5th place. Unbelievable in this mixed Div 1 and Div 2. Pabelli was a Div driver this season, Div 1 driver, but now it's been combined together. And he's running solidly in a 5th place position, and people ahead of him have got penalties as well, and those two have got a 6 and 3 second time penalty as well. So Pabelli could be looking for a podium if he keeps his nose clean as well. And Zenom in P7 could be looking for a P4 result to a P5 result as well. So this is good news for Zenom 2, gaining loads of places, as those Hash drivers have not picked up penalties so far. But Gerkley could be on course to win his first race in SFR. He had a lot of controversy last season in terms of race pace and etiquette as well as sportsmanship. He got himself in trouble a few times last season when I was racing. He overshot the chicane on purpose in Singapore to try and catch after me, but it didn't work. I did win Singapore, but Gerkley, however, overtook 2 drivers, and he could have chicaned as well to get after me, but it didn't work. And also the Hungarian Grand Prix 2, he did make contact with Kevin, so he could be facing adversity towards the end of the Grand Prix in terms of penalties and backlash. So we'll see if that happens or not. I think Apex George has relatively kept his nose clean, unlike Gerkley in P2. But Gerkley is very quick, but he makes the odd mistake now and then, and sometimes it can be very silly mistakes indeed. He's been around for a while now, for a few months, especially last season when we needed drivers for Division 1. He is very quick, but just needs to try and scoop up his racecraft and improve it too. And he will be a formidable driver to be reckoned with as well. Quick driver, a lot of potential, but can make some silly little errors and mistakes, which can definitely be avoided too. But safety car is coming in towards the end of this Grand Prix. We should have a showdown towards the end between George and Gerkley. The pendulum keeps swinging one way and another because it's swung the other way in George's favour but when that first safety car came out. Now the second one it hasn't, because Gerkley is right behind on the soft compound tyres. And what about the softs as well? Because 13, 14, 15 laps on the set of soft compound tyres is a long way to go. So let's see if they manage to hold well towards the end of this race. There is 13 laps left to go after this one, and we can get racing once again as we round the final corner. Let's see where George goes. He goes right now, and Bruce is alongside. And here comes McLaren Kevin with 3 abreast on the straight as we head down in towards turn 1. Kevin on the inside, the racing ball in the middle. As we see Kevin on the inside on Gerkley in towards turn 1, but Gerkley holds him on the outside. Remember, these two make contact a few laps ago. Now they're back together. The wheel banging in towards turn 1 and turn 2 they go. Gerkley stays ahead of Kevin. Kevin trying to go around the outside. There is no space there. Calvin around the outside of Pabelli, but Pabelli stays in P5 as he got around the outside of him as well for good measure and stays there in P5. So great defence from Pabelli, who was under massive pressure but managed to hold the position for the time being. But Calvin seems very quick in the Cadillac. Where's Fireblaze? Fireblaze is down at P14. He's lost out massively, but now the whole pack is right behind Apex George. George will struggle at this stage of the Grand Prix because everybody behind him is on a set of soft compound tyres. Got a few people there squabbling in the background. Doran cutting corners, got a penalty in this race too. The Cadillac of Alas Copo went off the track and almost lost it too. He's gone off the track once again, so exploring the challenges there is the Cadillac. It's Fireblades in the Audi going down the inside on Energy Dan. Let's see if Energy Dan stays ahead of Fireblades. He does, only for the time being though, but Gerkley is right behind George. I don't think George can defend against this because Gerkley will have the overtake mode on the back of the straight. Overtake, slipstream, and activator open as we head down in towards turn 1. Gerkley surely will go down the inside. Yes, he does. He will take the lead of the Grand Prix. Does Gerkley, but can George fight back on his hard compound tyres? Will the advantage swing back George's way? Will the grip come back towards him? Will the soft compound tyres fade towards the end? That's the only thing he can hope for right. That's the only thing he can hope for right now, is that those soft compound tyres fade away. The Ferrari has gone off the track there in turn 2. That is Doran, I think it is, or Hicks. Hicks, I think it is. Hicks in P12 went off the track and he's rejoined at the P12. What a horrendous restart for him indeed, as he's fighting away there with Doran as well. This is a breathtaking race indeed. I'm running out of breath as well. There is 10 laps left to go in this race, and there's still a fight for first place going on between Gerkley and Apex George, Kevin and Bruce as well. All these guys within the proximity of each other and all in the chance for the race win as well. Pabelli still in the wheel tracks of a podium because 2 people in front of him. Oh, the Cadillac off the track, but he keeps it on the road as he goes down the inside. What's that? That was a bit of an optimistic move there. He should have done that. He should have done that. There was no way to go down the inside there. The door was firmly shut, and it was a bit too far back as well. A day later, $1 short. And luckily for him, he didn't wipe out Babelli. Babelli and Carvin are both in OWR, so I'm pretty sure some words will be exchanged there between the two if Carvin took out Babelli. But now, we're on the main straight once again. George can keep up with Gurgley. This is good news, you know, because I presume Gurgley's tyres will go towards the end of this race, and George with the advantage back. Babelli goes off the track, and Carvin now, side by side with Babelli. Babelli has lost the place, and it's been shuffled down into P6. Carvin now in P5, but luckily for Babelli, 3 drivers in front of him have still got a penalty in this race. Do you know what? I am running out of breath here, Milan. I'll let you take over.
All these penalties looking like the Monaco Grand Prix of last weekend, with drivers inside the top 6 all having penalties. So that could play an advantage of Babelli. It was his teammate Zenon who went off track for the 3rd time this race in the chicane at the safety car restart, tumbling him from 7th place all the way down to what is now P13. So not quite what he was hoping for in the Haas as the fight continues on. And it is Kevin in the McLaren, surprisingly, holding up this train, because it's Bruce right behind now, 1/10 of a second. He's on the other tires of the field besides Apex George, as Atlas Copa gets ahead of Matti for P7. But Kevin is outside of the 1 second window to Apex George and Gurgley, so could this be a two-way fight? And what Apex George is doing well right now is staying with the Audi driver and hoping that he would have a tire advantage in the dying stages of this race. Bruce closing in on Kevin, but he's going to have a go up the inside. It's a late lunge from the RB, but the McLaren driver on the outside, not quite the traction he was hoping for, and Bruce takes the position away to put himself up at the P3. Kevin now trying to go and re-overtake on the outside of turn 2, but Bruce shooting the door aggressively into his face, and Bruce remained there on the final spot of the podium, virtually at least, of course, because these drivers have all got a time penalty that will be added up to their race time after the race. At the moment it's Babelli who is sitting in P3, but he's got the fight with Atlas Copo in P7. Atlas Copo, he was P14 I think at the safety car restart, currently finds himself P7 and fighting for a potential podium. That would be quite impressive from the Cadillac driver we saw go off multiple times during the past couple of laps, and also earlier down into the braking zone we are approaching right now, where he wants to straight into the wall, as Calvert has half a look up the inside of Kevin, but nothing more than that, and stays behind for the time being. Zenon gets ahead of Billy G to put himself back in 11th place, but nowhere near where he wants to be at this stage. Kevin is losing connection towards Bruce. The gap 0.7 of a second. He's having to look backwards rather than forwards, because Calvert is looking quite close behind. And Calvert has been going for lunges this race, and he's having one up the inside now as well, but it's just a little bit too far behind to make that work. Bit of a moment for both of them as they come out of the corner, as they struggle with the rear end out of turn 1. It's because when the ERS gets deployed out of the corner, you have to be straightening up your wheel, otherwise you will just have a massive tank slapper, which is what happened to these drivers. And here he goes on the inside, goes Calvert, and that's not going to work out as he backs off cleverly. So Kevin stays in P4, but he did go off track through turn 4, so he might have picked up a warning. Has to be mindful of that, because he already has got a 6-second time penalty. In the meantime, Fireblaze is trying to find his way back up the field. He's got up to P8 now ahead of Matti, and trying to close up towards this massive train, which is led by Bruce in P3. But for how much longer, because Kevin is losing the connection. And there goes Calvert up the inside in towards turn 12. This time around, no contact made, and Calvert finds himself up at the P4, and just still within 1 second or not of Bruce, so he might be vulnerable down the start-finish rate. He's just outside the 1 second window. So could we see an attempt of Kevin to re-overtake, although he's a couple of tenths of a second behind. So I don't think he's going to be able to make any move as we go on to lap 63 of this race. 8 laps remaining. There's a move up the inside from Babelli, hits the back of Kevin, sending the McLaren almost around in towards turn 1 as he fights it out with Babelli. It was actually Atlas Copo went up the inside of the McLaren. He hit the back of Kevin while fighting it out with the Haas. That is another massive moment from Kevin. Up the inside goes Babelli to go wheel to wheel. The McLaren getting shoved wide and going 3 wide, almost there. But luckily, Atlas Copo backs out. Otherwise, we probably would have had a monumental crash there. Heading in towards turn 4. Probelli is now put up P5, and Kevin is losing another position now. Through goes Atlas Coppo, and the pace that we have seen from Kevin earlier on in this race has absolutely vanished. So I wonder if he has picked up some sort of damage. He is on those old soft tires, and he is definitely struggling a lot more than the drivers around him, and will be under pressure from Fireblast as he goes off track once again there through turn 11. Really struggling in this race. So if lap 12 is the lap where you lose the grip to the tires, then the next one might be a difficult one for Gurgley. And look how close Apex George is coming out of the final corner. He's going to have a go immediately at the Audi driver, who we have seen be super defensive earlier on in this race against the McLaren. He keeps the inside line just like he has earlier on in this race. Now Apex George, with the help of the boost mode, is going to try and go up the inside, potentially in towards turn 2. You can run a wider line through turn 2, which is exactly what Gurgley is doing, and he is able to stay in front now. Potentially a switchback for Apex George, a bit of contact between the two. He's having a look up the inside, but for sure he's going to have to back out from that, and he does so as Fireblaze gets ahead of Kevin, who falls all the way down into 8th place. But because of that fighting between Gurgley and Apex George, Bruce has now caught up to the back and brought the entire train with him of Galvin, Rebelli and Atlas Coppo down to P6. So the entire top 6 within 1 second of each other with 6 laps to go.
Oh, what a breathtaking race this is, and it's still not over just yet either, because still 6 laps left to go after this one, and Apex George and Gurgley are still keeping it intense at the front indeed between those two. It was a 2-horse race, but the rest of the pack has been brought together now. But let's go. Look at this. George was almost tasting the lead. I thought for 1 second with the massive overspeed he had at the exit of turn 13. He would get him down the inside, but not on this occasion. We'll try and look around the outside, but backs off now. Has the boost and the battery and the active air open to overtake him down in towards turn 1. But Gurgley used the battery himself to defend against George going down towards turn 1. And guess what? Down the inside goes Bus on the Red Bull driver. When he makes his stick, gives a bit of a shove, and yes, it does. Bus is up into turn 1. Up into P2, sorry, at turn 1. That was an audacious lunge on the inside there as well. Gave a bit of a shove, but he's up there in P2. I thought for 1 second he would have got Gurgley out as well, but he didn't as well. By the way, in the comment section there as well, I think Pep was a classic commentator, Milan. So yeah, you got a couple of them there for Prep.
Thank you very much indeed. So I do appreciate that.
Anytime. So Gurgley there, 30 lap on soft compound tyres, still hanging on to the lead, but for how much longer? Because Bus is looking raced. The problem for George is he's got a car now in front of him who has a 3-second time penalty indeed. So he has to find a way past Bus again. Will he find a way past this time? Will he try and return the favour by sending all the inside towards turn 1? He doesn't do it on this occasion, so he has to stay behind him. But George will be desperate to get past the Racing Bull driver so he can continue the battle between Gurgley and himself. But Gurgley in this race has been literally driving on his mirrors, looking behind him the whole time to see what's happening, and he's been defending for such a long way in this Grand Prix too. Yes, it was a bit controversial between himself and Kevin when they were battling indeed, but here we go then on lap 66 out of 70. Nothing in towards turn 1 this time. Bruce doesn't assemble the inside. Oh, contact! Just a mere contact, and George is back up into P2. That was such small contact. I was on board with Bruce there, but I barely felt anything. And unfortunately for him, it's been sent down into P4 again. So George has got Bruce out of the way, but not in the fashion he would have wanted to. He could be facing scrutiny towards the end of this race too. Depends if that's penalty worthy or not. Did George hit the back of him? Did Bruce lose a traction? I'm not quite sure. But now the damage is done, and George is back up into P2. Now there's 4 laps left to go in this race. George's main focus is first place. Can George get his second win in 2 races? He won in Silverstone. He dominated the race, but he's had a lot of work to do in this one indeed at the Hungarian Grand Prix. A lot of work to be done. He had the second stage of the Grand Prix went easy for him. But when that second safety car came out, that's when things changed and turned around. That's when he was put under pressure, and now he's got to deliver the pressure towards the end of this race, and he could still fancy a chance of winning the Grand Prix. So the hard compound tyres, those softs, surely must be hanging off a cliff by now as we exit the final corner. When will George decide to make an overtake? Is it now? Is it later on the last lap? Here we go then in the slipstream in the DRS. Which way will he go this time? Left-hand side, because George Gurgley defends the inside line. And Gurgley defends also, covers the middle of the track, which he wants to do, but can George get the better exit at turn 1? He can't do so. Gurgley has parked the car in the middle of the road to prevent George from getting the exit he needs, like Alonso did on Hamilton in 2021, to prevent him getting the slingshot exit he needs to drive past him out of turn 1, to get a traction out of turn 1. But George stays behind. Alex Copo is alongside almost Pirelli. You know what? Alex Copo has done a mega job in this race. I know he's involved in a little bit of drama towards the first part of the Grand Prix, and he was way behind. Now he's P6. There's a few people. Oh, there's cars. What on earth was that? There's massive contacts between Bus and the Cadillac. As he tries, oh, look at this. Alex Copo down the inside of Pirelli, but Pirelli there trying to go side by side with his compatriot, but he can't do so. And Alex Copo's P4 now, but there's still a chance for a podium for Alex Copo and Pirelli, because Carvin does have a 3-second penalty in P3. A lot of drivers getting a robo-side indeed in this race. A lot of drivers here, whoa, getting a little bit hot-headed as well, it must be said, under the heat in Hungary. But as we now go towards the final corner once again, George line up a move on Gurgley out of the final corner with the overtake mode, with the active area open in the slipstream. Can George try and force from the inside in towards turn 1? The answer is no. Oh, it's a late one. It's a late one. Surely not. It was a bit of a half set, wasn't it? But he can't get the exit he needs out of the first corner to try and get Gurgley. But will it be turn 2? Is this where he sends it down? Oh, there's contact between the leaders. They're both in a spin. And they both make it out unscathed. Luckily for him, keep it going in the right direction. Now Carver's up into P2. That's the worst thing. Oh my goodness me. This is the last thing that George needs. Somebody in the way. Once again, it's this time Carver in the way. The leaders make contact, but luckily they weren't in a full spin. Imagine if they both spun. That could have gave the win towards Alex Copo in P4. But now George once again has got a lot of work to do to get the Cadillac out of the way. And it's going to be even more difficult now. Time is running out. Time is on the essence as well, because it's lap 68 out of 70 indeed. And George has tried it, but it didn't work. They both came to blows in turn 2, but luckily they're still in first and third place. It could have gone worse for those two. They could have been out of contention for winning, or George be desperate to try and force from the inside of Carver. This has definitely been an eventful, chaotic race. It was so quiet in the first part of the Grand Prix, but it's come alive in the second and third part. Here comes George. He has to get past Carvin. He can't afford to stay behind him, but Carvin is not making life easy for George. George has got to make the move now in towards turn 1. He can't afford to be stuck behind him. He goes for it, claims the apex. Can he get ahead? Yes, he can. Carvin's pushed to the outside on the curb in turn 1, and George is up into P2. And George has got one more lap to overtake Gurgley. Is it one lap too late, I wonder? But we'll see. As Carver's dropped down the order, he's got into P5. This is unbelievable. And Alex Copo could be on the podium in P3. This is unbelievable. Who would have thought Alex Copo could have been on the podium? And Pirelli as well is down into P9. What on earth happened to Pirelli? I'm not quite sure. I couldn't quite see, because there was so much action happening at the front of the field there. It's all getting tense at the front of the field. It's all getting spicy. And loads of drivers in different positions as well. But it's still Gurgley who leads ahead of George. But George is right behind the Audi driver. Has the Audi driver got any more grip on those soft compound tyres? Just for one more lap indeed. They're both trying to manage and save the battery one last time for the final lap of this race. We're coming towards the slow speed corners, where George surely has a better chance on his hard compound tyres. Now he needs a decent exit out of the final corner, but George is a bit too close for comfort. Here we go then, as they both boot the throttle out of the final corner, as the active move and the boost is enabled for George. Let's see if George can make a move going down into towards turn. Is it ascend? It's not ascend. Gurgley defends, but there's still more chances that George can get past, because if he gets the exit out of turn 1 here, he could go down the inside in towards turn 2. Will it be another move for George? He doesn't do it in towards turn 2. Gurgley's still defending for his life here, but can George get the exit he needs? Is it around the outside in towards turn 3? Can he do it? Yes, he can! George takes the lead in turn 3. What a move! Better grip, better on the outside. Oh no! Oh, no! He has got a 3-second time penalty, and here comes Alex Copo in P3, looking for him with Gurgley. Oh, George, when he had the win in his grasp, he lost it immediately with a penalty. He just went too quick in turn 4 off the track. But Alex Copo's on better soft compound tyres. He's still in the mix for a race win. Can he do it though? Gurgley's got to defend against. Here comes Alex Copo. Here he comes. Inside, outside, in towards turn 13. It's around the outside, but he outbrakes himself again. Oh my goodness, what a messy breaker zone that was for Alex Copo. A bit too deep in the corner, and he's under pressure from Bus as well. But George, all the hard work has come to nothing now because he will lose the race win. But I think he should be on the podium still. As he exits the final corner, George in first place. But Gurgley will win the Hungarian Grand Prix. What a spectacular race for Gurgley. As Alas Copo from the back to P2. George in P3. George will be absolutely devastated that he lost the race win due to a last lap penalty. Oh, what a shame there for George. I think a bit too much speed towards turns with that boost mode as well, which sent him wide and cost him dearly as well. What a chaotic race for our first race on F1 26 DLC. Unbelievably deep. I've learnt a lot from this game as well. And Gurgley is the winner from this race, as he's left the session quite early too. But he's the winner of this race. Congratulations to him. But he may pick up penalties because of the infringements he had with Kevin. He's been in the wars today in this race. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Every single driver has been literally in the wars today. Literally, unbelievable stuff indeed. Left, right, centre, contacts, barging out of the way, etc. Wheel banging. It's all been a part of racing here today. Everything's thrown at the table and nothing left. No crumbs left on the table either. But it is Gurgley who wins, with Atlas Copo coming from the back of the field to finish in first place. He started third place, but he went dropping down the order dramatically indeed. And Bruss on the podium, who started in P2, who you thought had a chance to win the Grand Prix. But Kevin, the pole sitter, highly disadvantaged with all those problems he had in the second and third stint in the race. Just went from bad to worse, and nothing went right after that. Ever since he disconnected, that's when the curse started, and that's where things went going wrong. But in the first part of the Grand Prix, he was dominating. Nobody could touch him, and it's a shame to see that all that hard work unfortunately went down the drain for him. But what a race, Milan. Our first race on F1 26, and it's produced us this.
Wow, what a way to kick off this DLC, and what an incredible final lap we have just witnessed. It could have gone three ways between Gurgley, Atlas Copo and George, and well, so unfortunate there for George picking up that penalty. It was such a beautiful move on the outside of Gurgley, but then he went wide in the very next corner, and then we saw the move between Atlas Copo and Gurgley. It was absolutely incredible scenes on that final lap, and wow, what a way indeed to kickstart this campaign on the F1 26 DLC. And like you said, every single driver has been to war. There have been so many moments, so many incidents, so many things to probably talk about after this race, probably in the stewards room as well. So we'll see what the official results will be eventually, but one thing is for sure, what an incredible race we have witnessed here in Hungary.
Indeed, that is the end of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Really hope you enjoyed it as well. That 70-lap race was very long and very enthralling indeed, but it's a lot to take away from it. But it is Gurgley in the end who comes out on top of it after everything he's been through as well, and after all the contacts he's made, somehow still in first place. But yeah, it's just incredible how league racing works as well, and this new gate system which allows us pretty much overtaking anywhere as well. Depends who's got the battery and who hasn't, and who uses wisely as well. But the next race is at the Chinese Grand Prix, and unfortunately I will not be there because I'll be on holiday next week. So I will be back the week after at the Mexican Grand Prix, but I assure you I can leave you in the hands of Milan Langer. He will be a pleasure to listen to as well. So Milan, hopefully you're there next week, but I won't be. But yeah, Milan, thank you very much for commentating with me, mate. Absolute pleasure. I know we're both fighting for internet today again, but I'm happy that you fought through it and still joined us back. So thank you very much, mate.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but I won't be there next week either, because I will be going to Barcelona this weekend for the Spanish Grand Prix, so I won't be back until Tuesday. So neither of us, unfortunately, will be there, but well, we will certainly return in 2 weeks' time. So let's hope these guys have a great race next time around. But yeah, it's been a great race. It's been a pleasure being in the commentary booth alongside you. And I'm looking forward to the next one. Hope sadly not next week, but in 2 weeks' time we will both probably be there again.
Yep, indeed. Then so we'll both miss the Chinese Grand Prix next week, but hopefully you have a commentator. There should be a commentator because there's loads of people in SFR. So I really hope that somebody can commentate for you guys because you deserve it. But me and Milan will be there next week. So enjoy the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, and I'll see you all in 2 weeks' time in Mexico.